Okay, we're going to attach the binding, and we've made a lot. We've made extra binding just to make sure we can get around it. We're going to leave a lot of overlap, but we're not going to start sewing until we're going to start sewing right about here. So I'm going to get that under the needle and then show you how to pivot to get the corner sewn. Leave this unsewn. You want a lot to work with, and just start close to the edge because we're going to need to pull that up when we do the invisible bind. So right here we'll start about, I guess that's about 1.5 inches or so from the edge. Okay, be right back. Okay, I've set my needle to 1/4 inch, so we're gonna sew about 1/4 inch, or a little less even from the edge. And we're gonna do a little back stitch in here, because we're gonna be pulling on that a little later, and we don't want it to come off. Okay, so I'm gonna sew up to the corner, and then when we're approximately 1/2 inch from, I don't know if you can see that, it's going to be hard to see, about 1/2 inch from the edge, we're going to start angling over, and we're going to come off the side right at about the 1/2 inch mark. Okay, now we're going to leave our needle down, and okay, let's see if I can do this with one hand. We are going to pull this out a little bit, and we want to fold this up on edge, so it's, let me see, can you see that? I hope you can see that. Okay, we're gonna come and match it up right here, and then we're gonna fold it down over itself right on that corner. And then we're just going to put it back under the needle, put it back under the foot, right at the 1/4 inch. And I'm going to reinforce that just a stitch. 2 stitches. Okay, and then we're just going to continue to sew this onto the back side. I don't know if I said that before, but we're starting from the back. So we want to attach the binding by machine on the back side, because we're going to be sewing it onto the front, and we want to be able to hide the stitch from the back. So, all right, I'm going to sew to the next corner, and then I'll show you that step again. Okay, we're coming up on the corner again. So we want to, right around the 1/2 inch mark, just eyeball it and turn it a little bit. So you're going to be coming off the fabric around 1/4 inch. All right, and then we want to pull it back down and fold this back on top of itself so these edges are even with the side of the quilt that you're sewing it to, and then fold it back on top of itself right there at the corner. I always leave just a little bit hanging off. It makes it a little easier to turn, just a little, like not even 1/8 of an inch. but you don't want to come too far down and expose the end of the quilt off of the top, because it won't fold over nicely. Alright, so backspace right here, couple. Keep going. Okay, we're approaching the last corner. So I'm just gonna get that one done real quick and show you how to do the binding one last time while we're attaching the binding. All right, get this last corner done. Fold it down. All right, we're just gonna come in, an inch and a half or so, and then we're going to lock the stitch and cut the threads at this point. Okay, so we've come to the edge, and we've come over, and here's where our overlap happens. Now we have a lot to work with. I'm going to try to show this. Okay, we have a lot of overlap. We want that. We want to be able to have this not sewn down yet. It's going to make things a lot easier. Okay, now I'm going to put this in. My binding is 2.5 inches, so we want to come in 2.5 inches right here, and we're going to cut this right here. My phone is probably going to tip over. All right, 2.5 inches. Now I could have probably given myself a little more room on the side if I'd have overlapped more in the middle. So I don't know how much trouble that's going to give me. But now I'm going to flip this around to the top because it's easier for me to work this from the top. So, all right. So we're up at the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to have right side up. And this would be the right side. I know it's a solid, so it's not great for demonstrating, but you get the idea. And this will be right side down. And now see how close I am to the edge? That's making it a little bit trickier. I should have come in a little bit further. But we're gonna sew. We're gonna sew this. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna sew this on the diagonal from this corner to this corner. And that's gonna be tricky. And I'll be right back. I don't know if you could see that. My camera's too short. From here to here, we're gonna sew. And I'll be right back. Make sure that this is going to fold the way I want it to, and it's perfect. I had to pick out a few stitches because it was too hard to overlap on this edge, so that's something I often forget, to come in a little bit toward the center so you have more to work with. I'm going to cut so there's a 1/4 inch seam, and I'm just going to finger press this open. You can iron it if you want to, but it's going to get sewn over anyway, so. Okay, and this is going to lay right down, and you'll be able to sew the rest of the binding down. Okay, we finished sewing to the back. Everything's lined up. And what we're going to do is, looks like some of my stitches. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to fold this over and we're going to iron it to get a good crisp edge on the binding. So right now we're looking at the back, and we're going to iron this so the edges are crisp. And then what we're going to do is come around this way, and we're going to iron to the front. So I'll be right back. Okay, working from the back, we're going to just iron this. Make it a little bit easier, a little crisper to work with. And then we can flip over. And what we want to do is just, right now we're on the front. See? Front. Okay, we just want to roll this over. And we want to try to clear the line from sewing from the back. You can see the straight white line. I should have used a different color, but what we want to do is hide that under the binding. So roll over on the front and just press it. Makes it a little bit easier if it's pressed down, and you don't have to worry about the corners too much. They're going to be sewn, but just press the binding to the front. Alright, I'm going to press this down and meet you back at the machine. Okay, so I've folded over my binding, and I've secured it with some binding clips, and I'm going to start right about here on the front. And this is where you would need to decide a few things, like what stitch you're going to use, zigzag, straight, a blanket stitch. There's decorative stitch. You can come off the edge, and there's so many things you can do here. I'm just going to do a straight stitch for now. I also widen my stitch length to, 3.0. I don't use a walking foot on this part. I use thin batting. I've switched. I have a Pfaff machine now, and it has an even feed foot, but you can use a walking foot. I've just found it's not too necessary on the binding. I just lengthen my stitch a little bit wider, and it just goes a little more smoothly with fewer puckers. So, all right, I'm going to try to set the camera up and show how I do this. So, give me 1 second. Okay, I've reset my needle to move over on the left-hand side so I can get a good feed. And the edge of the binding is right along the left edge of the presser foot. And I've set the needle as far left as it can go. And we'll see how that works. I don't know how I'm going to do this and take a video, but I'm going to try. I'm new at this. Okay. Come here. I'm going to lock it just 1 or 2 stitches. Back stitch. And then just keep the edge of the binding on the left edge of the foot. This is so tricky with the camera. Hold on. Alright, can you still see it? I hope so. Oops. It's pushing over on me. Go slow, be careful. Try to stay even. It's going to move. I did not pin this because I'm just showing you how to do it, and it's not a very important project. But if you don't pin and you take the binder clips off, it's going to slip. careful. Alright, I hope this is self-explanatory. We'll look at it. I'll finish up and then bring the video back to show how it looks at the end. Okay, I've got it all sewn down. You can see where it slipped away from me. Hopefully, since you won't be videotaping yourself, you'll be able to keep that on track a little better. The edges, I just came up and then pivoted. I'm sure you could probably do those a little cleaner as well. This got real thick. I don't know why that's so thick right there. But the goal is to not be able to see the stitching from the back binding on the front. Here's how it looks on the back. You can see the front stitching on the back, but it's just the back, so we're okay with that. As long as it covers on the front, the back doesn't really matter. Now this is how to machine stitch binding. There is a way to tack it down by hand. You do the first part of it on the front, and then you roll to the back and you would hand stitch it. That's another way, but this is how to machine stitch it. Thank you.